G'day, I'm Ray here, and this is MotoNZ. And after a recent conversation with Matthew Day-Gillett recording Kiwi Rider podcast, I got thinking that there must be 5 things I don't like about the Moto Morini Seiemmezzo 6.5. This bike right here, right? The long-term test. And to that end, I'm going to try and give you the most balanced video I possibly can with 5 things I love about this bike and 5 things I don't like about this bike. Let's start with the things I love, because that's pretty easy. 5 things I love about this bike. Rightio. First thing, the brakes. The rear brake is solid. The front brake is very grabby. Well, not grabby. Grabby's probably a bad word for it. But you just touch the brakes and they haul the bike up. They do what they're meant to do, which is great. I like brakes. Brakes are good. Bit of a cold morning. So thing number 1 I like about this bike is the brakes. Thing 2 I like about this bike is it's so well equipped. I like the full color TFT display. I like that it's got adjustable suspension. It's got everything you want, especially for a learner bike. That's great. So that's 2 things. 3 things. Third thing I like about this bike. The engine. Funnily enough, being a Kawasaki derived engine that's used in the CF motos as well, a lot of people, they get a bit negative about it. Oh, it's just a Chinese engine. No, I like it. It's peppy. It goes. Woo! It gets up in boogies. 4th thing I like about this bike, the looks. It doesn't seem to matter what color you get this bike in. All the colors look fantastic. This one's the black with the gold anodized fork. It looks awesome. It really does. It looks, it's open to people's own thoughts, but I like it. I think it looks great. So that's 4 things I like about the Seiemmezzo 6.5 SCR. The STR looks great too. There's only little differences between the 2 bikes. And the last thing I like about this bike, well, it's not the last thing, but I had to pick 5 things to make it balanced. Indicator switch. My thumb fits perfectly on the indicator switch. It's perfectly located. I like that. It's the little things. The little things that all mount up to a great riding experience. So that's 5 things, and I think I've said most of those things before. 5 things I like about the Moto Morini Seiemmezzo 6.5. Incidentally, I'm told, and I don't know this because I failed 5th form school, Seiemmezzo is Italian for 6.5. And of course the engine is a 6.5, 650cc. Okay, we've got to balance this out. People have accused me of being too complimentary about the bike. 5 things I don't like about the Moto Morini Seiemmezzo 6.5. And I don't like saying things I don't like about the bike, because it is a fun little bike. I enjoy the bike. But, number 1, the seat. The seat is a little bit hard, a little bit uncomfortable, especially for a long trip. The seat is number 1. Number 2, things I don't like about the Moto Morini Seiemmezzo 6.5. The front tyre, although it looks cool, and is cool, being fat and having a high front fender, if you ride through any surface water, it's going to pick up all that water and fling it up over the front of the bike. I rode home in the rain last night and I got wetter on this bike than I would on most other bikes because it was just picking up all the water off the front. So between, say, 20 kilometers an hour and 50 kilometers an hour, you just have this little rooster tail coming off the front of the bike, hitting the headlight and occasionally coming over the little screen up the front here. That's the second thing I don't like about this bike. The third thing is, although it's got that full TFT display, Bluetooth connectivity and all that sort of stuff, navigating through the menu is a little bit clunky. I think that's a combination of the controls you're given to navigate through the menu, and it feels like it could have a little bit more computing power. Occasionally it just freezes for a few seconds, which isn't ideal. Like, they've given it all the functionality, but on a budget. I'm trying to run Windows 10. Well, that was terrible. I'm trying to run Windows 10 on a machine that's built to run Windows 95. Hopefully that makes sense. That's three things I don't like about this bike. Alright, here's a strange one. Number 4. When I first got the bike, the engine had not done any kilometers at all. So I've done all the Ks on this bike. It's just ticked over 1,400. And it did generate a lot of heat up until probably about 700 or 800 kilometers on the odometer. I didn't really like that it generated so much heat. However, now the engine's broken, it doesn't do that. It doesn't generate as much heat as it used to. So that's kind of a thing I didn't like about the bike, but it's resolved itself, I guess. Can that be number 4? And number 5, of the 5 things I don't like about the Moto Morini Seiemmezzo 6.5, is not a problem with the bike, but a problem with this style of bike in general. Not much wind protection, which is great in summer, but right now it's winter and it's cold. It's cold, and so although I don't get any wind turbulence on my helmet, which makes things quiet, you just get this solid of wind. All that wind is hitting me in the chest and it's cold. Does it give you a fair and balanced representation of this bike? Hopefully it does. If I have to be that picky about a motorbike, then surely it's good, right? I mean, I'm using it to commute at the moment, and it does what it needs to do, right? It gets up to speed. It's not the most torquey, ridiculous, strip your face off engine, but does it need to be? It has more than enough power to get up and go and have fun. I'll give you another thing I like about this bike, a bonus thing. And it plays into the looks of the bike. I love that it's got all LED lighting. The headlight in particular I love. I think it just looks fantastic. The mono headlight. And it's nimble. There's another thing. It's flickable. I can get through traffic. I can see the thing with my hips, which is helpful. It's a good thing. It gets through traffic. It does what it's meant to do. So it does what the SV650 and MT-07 do, and that you can't fault it. One more a bonus downside of having a Moto Morini in New Zealand right now is that the dealer network isn't massive. There aren't many dealers willing to sell and service the Moto Morinis. There is one in Wellington, I'm lucky. And so my experience of getting the bike serviced was fine. I dropped it off, they did the work, I got it back. There is, and it's probably my fault for getting it serviced, but actually before the 1000k mark, the dash will tell you when it needs to be serviced, and there's a little service light on the dash, and I got the bike back, it still hadn't ticked over 1,000 kilometers, it was like 989 kilometers or something, and because that light hadn't come on, the dealer didn't reset the light, and so I do need to find time to just shoot back into the dealer and get that light reset. But that's, you know, neither here nor there. That would happen with anything, really. I'm not complaining about that. But yeah, hopefully these bikes take off. Hopefully people, especially in New Zealand, see the value in these bikes, because it would be great for more dealers to sell them and support them. Because I enjoy it, and I would like to see more of these on the road. Matthew Day Gillett currently has the Moto Morini X-Cape, which is the adventure bike that Moto Morini put out at the moment. So if you want to know more about that, then search out On Throttle NZ on YouTube, or go to onthrottle.co.nz as his website. He's doing the same thing as I'm doing with this. He's doing a bit of a long-term test. What's it like to live with the bike? What's it like to ride the bike, you know, regularly? And I hear that he's going to be putting some accessories on that bike. We're actually planning a bit of a road trip on the two Seiemmezzos to see what these are like, you know, on a bigger road trip. Terrible time of year to be doing a road trip. We're talking about heading somewhere near the Central Plateau, and it's going to be oh so cold. So what do I do with this to make it bearable in the middle of winter riding through snow? I could do heated grips. Definitely going to have to do some form of auxiliary power for my phone and cameras, which shouldn't be hard actually, because quad lock pretty much sort you out there. And as with all my other bikes, especially my bikes, any modifications I do to the bike I like to be reversible, because if you sell the bike you don't want to have to fork out for another quad lock, right? So something like that, bolt onto the bars, that's easy. But I don't know about heated grips, if they're going to be reversible or not. That said, these Magna gloves that I've got, Magna Exile gloves, for commuting they're fine. Summer they're way too hot, so maybe for a road trip they would suffice. I don't think this Havoc titanium R gear that I'm going to be wearing, well I'm wearing right now, I don't think that would be suitable. I'd need to really get some layers on underneath, because I'm getting, everything else is fine thermally right now, but I'm getting a cold patch right in the middle of my chest, which is not the place that you want to get cold. But anyway, after being accused of not being balanced enough, there's 5 things I love about the Moto Morini Seiemmezzo 6.5, and 5 things that I really had to dig to find that I am not all that fussed about. Love to hear your thoughts. If you've got any questions, chuck them up in the comments below. Hit that like and subscribe buttons, and that'll probably do it. Thanks very much for watching. Catch you next time. Hooroo!